What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Saga Reviews, episode 179, the College Football Weekly News. And on today's episode, we got the SEC four-year conference opponents, which we'll talk about. Mike Gundy getting fired from Oklahoma State, and the AP polls are better, but still not great. So let's head straight into it. So as you can sound in my voice, it is not 100% here. I have not been feeling all that great. I want to say it was allergies. It still feels like allergies, but who knows this time of year. So hopefully it sounds okay on your guys' end, but I'll try my best to get through it. It's still going to be the normal self, the normal college football news that we've had the last, 4 weeks now. I think we're into week 4. But we got a lot to talk about, so let's get straight into it. The ACC announced that they are moving to a 9-conference game schedule with one non-conference Power 4 team required to play. SEC just moved over to this, so we'll talk about them in a few seconds here. But the ACC moving to this, I think, is very good. I'm surprised that there are still conferences that don't go to nine games, especially because most, if not all, conferences have enough opponents, even the lower conferences, to make a 9-conference game scheduling. So overall, that kind of surprises me. But I'm glad the ACC is moving along with that. They definitely need to do that. There's really no reason behind not having that. Now moving on to the SEC. So they announced the same scheduling thing for their conference, I think starting next year or the year after that. But here are the annual opponents for the next 4 years once the scheduling does happen. A couple to note, though, Alabama, they have a pretty good schedule. Auburn, Tennessee, Mississippi State, they should probably be pretty competitive with those 3 opponents. Auburn's not too bad. Alabama, Georgia, kind of tough there, but they also get Vanderbilt in there. LSU, another one. Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, that's a tough tough scheduling right there. Kentucky, I don't think has it real easy. Tennessee, South Carolina, and Florida. We move on to the next slide. Texas has A&M, Missouri, Oklahoma. That's a tough one, but I'm glad they're facing Oklahoma. Oklahoma's side, you got Missouri, Ole Miss, Texas. So you got a couple of these teams who are going to see some very good teams for the next 4 years, which is good for them. But again, these schedulings are now going to turn into the conference having more losses than they probably should, but it's going to make it more competitive year after year. So this is a very good move for the SEC and the ACC. When it comes to the ACC, we do not know when they're going to announce the scheduling for their conference teams that they'll be playing all the time, if that even is the case. Most likely still will be the case. A lot of teams have done this, or a lot of conferences have done this in the past. You have set opponents you play every year. SEC announced theirs. ACC most likely to announce theirs, but they just announced this move, so it's probably going to be a little bit until we get that. All right, let's head to notable results from the last week. We'll start off with Tulsa versus Oklahoma State. Tulsa winning this one 19-12, firing Mike Gundy because of the loss there. Let's start off with Gundy before we go into anything else. Surprised that he got fired? Not at all. Oklahoma State has not been good the last couple years. You can definitely see the regression for the Cowboys program. But am I surprised that they didn't let him have the rest of the season? A little bit. I mean, there's really no reason to fire him. The expectations for Oklahoma State was not there to start off the year. I figure there's really no point for this team to go out and get a couple wins. Most likely, they're going to just be a team that, if anything, gives a problem to another Big 12 team. But Oklahoma State is not good this year. They weren't good last year. I think keeping Gundy in here would have been fine for the most part, but it's not a good situation, Oklahoma State. Now, does Mike Gundy get a job somewhere else? I could see him doing that. He's done a lot of stuff good for Oklahoma State. He put him in a relevancy for a good amount of years when he was there. Now, for Oklahoma State to do this at this point, I'm kind of back and forth. I don't mind them firing him halfway through the year. He's looked bad. You lose against Tulsa. That's very embarrassing for a Power 4 conference to lose like that to a team that they haven't lost to in a long time. At home, by the way. But I could also see the point where Just let Gundy finish off the year and say, hey, you're done after this year. So there's that. But $15 million buyout for Gundy for Oklahoma State to move on from him. So good little payday for Mike Gundy, but obviously he wants to keep his job. Now for the American Conference, let's talk about Tulsa and the American Conference here. This is their 6th win over a Power 4 team. USF beating Florida on the road. Memphis beating Arkansas, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Tulane beating Duke and Northwestern. And then obviously this one, Tulsa beating Oklahoma State on the road. And the last one, Army beating Kansas State on the road in overtime. Really good wins here. The conference looks really good. When it comes to an out of a non-Power 4 conference team, a group of 5, if they still call those conferences that, I think the American Conference is the front runner right now. Obviously, preseason, I thought Mountain West, Boise State, going to run it back. They don't look all that great this year. They're really not even relevant to talk about. These American Conference teams are the best ones to talk about. Army, I don't think is really good enough to get in anymore, unfortunately. But teams like Tulane, yeah, they lost big against Oklahoma or Ole Miss, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But they've got 2 good wins there. They're in a conference where if they win it out, they can get some respect there. Memphis, big win over SEC opponent on the road there, or at home, excuse me. I think Memphis could get that one done as well. USF has done really well. Yeah, they lost big to Miami, but Miami is now ranked in the top 5 of the nation. I think that's a good loss as well. So a couple good teams with good wins right there. The American Conference is definitely one to keep an eye out on moving forward. But let's move on to a couple other teams and a couple other results here. Arizona State beating Baylor 27-24. Yes, this is a non-ranked game. This is a game that I'm obviously biased towards because I'm a big Arizona State fan. But regardless, Arizona State is one of those teams right now that after their loss to Mississippi State, a lot of people wrote off, did not expect them to make playoffs at all. And this team is very good as an underdog. I mean, you saw it last year, not a lot of respect. This year, again, starting to not have a lot of respect. But a Baylor team who's actually really good. Sawyer Robinson with probably one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the conference of the Big 12. And an offense that is actually one of the best offenses in the Big 12 as well going into that game. Arizona State's pass defense in the past has not been all that great. And they were able to shut them down for most of that game. The last couple drives, a couple big plays, did kind of skew the numbers, but for the most part, Robinson and his wide receivers were not clicking all that well. The run game wasn't looking all that great either, and Arizona State's defense looked very good. A lot of turnovers, a lot of big plays, a couple of bad calls on both sides of the ball for both teams, though. So it was consistently not great when it came to officiating, but a really big win for Arizona State. Now they get to go against a TCU team on a short week. Now they're ranked in the top 25 with a little spoiler there. But I think Arizona State is in a good situation here. Baylor, I still think, is in a pretty good situation despite having 2 losses. One of them to be an Arizona State conference loss, which hurts a little bit more. But the other one being Auburn, which I don't think is a bad loss anyways, and losing them week 1 in the year. I think Baylor has a good chance to keep on rolling despite this loss in the conference. Miami hosted Florida. They smoked them 26-7. Billy Napier, still the head coach, still says he's going to be making the offensive play calls despite scoring like no points week after week. We'll see what happens with Florida there. Number 6, Oregon won the Civil War against Oregon State. I know they don't call it that, but I still call it that. 41-7, smoked them in Eugene. Illinois goes to number 19 Indiana, and they get pummeled. Top 10 team in the nation, getting smoked on the road, 63-10. Not a good win, or not a good loss for Illinois. A really good win though for Indiana. Nice job there. Number 22, Auburn lost to number 11, Oklahoma, 17-24. John Mateer suffered a thumb injury, will be missing multiple weeks, but we did get announced earlier today, which was on Thursday, that the surgery was successful. So that's good for John Mateer. But this Oklahoma team now might suffer not having their star quarterback here. There also was a little controversy that there should have been an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Oklahoma on one of their touchdown plays. There was a wide receiver that came out wide, looked like he was going for a substitution. Defense never picked him up, obviously, because they think he's going for a sub. He goes off the field, goes back on, goes down the field for an easy like 35, 40-yard or touchdown pass. That should have been flagged as a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, supposedly. They never called that. It turns into a one-score contest, Oklahoma win. So a little controversy over that. But I think Auburn's still in a pretty solid team. They're going to be in a good situation moving forward. I think we could see them back in the top 25 after a few more wins. Tulane went to number 13 Ole Miss and gets destroyed 45-10. First half did not look good for the Green Wave. Pretty much no passing yards this whole game. Retzlaff not great in that game. Ole Miss looked really good. Number 17 Texas Tech goes to number 16 Utah and kills them 34-10. The worst marginal loss for Utah at home in a long time. I think since 2016 is what they said. So Utah, loss at home, not great. Early in the year, it could still get turned around. For Tech, they look really good. The bad thing is they lose their starting quarterback, so what are they going to do with that? We'll have to see moving forward. Number 21, Michigan beat Nebraska 30-27, a really close game there. South Carolina lost number 23 Missouri 29-20. Purdue lost number 24 Notre Dame 56-30. First win of the year for the Fighting Irish. USC won at home against Michigan State 45-31. They're looking like they potentially could be a sneaky good team in the top 25 here now. Memphis went to Arkansas and beat them 32-31. A very close game. Another big win again for the American Conference and the Tigers there. Syracuse beat Clemson 34-21. A couple of tough news though here. Clemson 1-3 for the first time since 2004. Not a good situation there. No, I do not think Dabo Swinney should be fired because of this tough start. It's not a good look for the team and the program, but he's still a very good coach. I would not get rid of him anytime soon. And then for Syracuse's sake, they were fined $25,000 for faking injuries. I think this is the second time this year that people have caught Syracuse faking injuries. Not a good look for the Orange there. They also lose their quarterback Steve Angeli to an Achilles injury. He is done for the year. So that's tough news for Syracuse. Doesn't give me a lot of hope that Syracuse is going to do well the rest of the year. But regardless, a big win on the road against Clemson. Whether they are a 1-3 team or a 3-0 team, it doesn't really matter. Big win for the Orange. TCU won the Skillet over SMU 35-24 at home. And last one, North Texas beat Army in overtime 45-38. A good win for the Mean Green. All right, let's head to the AP Top 25 where we have a lot of controversy, but let's head into the rankings right now. Number 1 is still Ohio State. Number 2 gets a plus 2 is Miami. Penn State drops 1-3. LSU drops 1-4. Georgia State's put at 5. Oregon State's put at 6. Oklahoma gets a plus 4-7. Florida State drops 1-8. A&M gets a plus 1-9. Texas drops 2-10. Indiana gets a plus 8-11. Texas Tech plus 5-12. Ole Miss stays put at 13. Iowa State drops 2-14. Tennessee stays put at 15. Georgia Tech gets a plus 2-16. Alabama drops 3-17. Vanderbilt gets a plus 2-18. Michigan gets a plus 2-19. Missouri gets a plus 3-20. USC gets a plus 4-21. Notre Dame plus 2-22. Illinois drops 14-23. TCU and BYU go from unranked to 24 and 25. The two teams that drop out this week, Utah from 16 and Auburn from 22. Other receiving votes, Auburn had 122, Mississippi State 102, USF 77, Utah 45, ASU at 30. Those are the top 5 receiving vote teams here. Now, my gripe again about the AP Top 25. I will say it is a better ranking than last week. Penn State dropping a spot, Miami jumping up to 2 is crazy, but it's justified. I'm okay with that. It's just, for me, I just never see Miami as a top 5 school. But they've looked really good this year, so I will give them that. I think it's justified. That's fine there. Oklahoma, a plus 4-7 on a game that potentially is going to have a lot of controversy the rest of the year because of that non-flag thrown. And now they have no John Mateer for the rest of the month potentially. I don't know. I don't like Oklahoma being at 7. Texas dropping 10, I think, is justified. That's fine. Indiana getting a plus 8-11, I think, is also justified. Texas Tech at 12, yeah. Alabama staying at inside the top 25 to me is nothing special. I'm glad that they did drop though to 17. I don't think there's that much. I think Georgia Tech actually kind of gets hurt a lot by not having Clemson looking all that great, but they get a +2 to 16. I'm happy for them. Vanderbilt in the top 25 still surprises the hell out of me. USC, Notre Dame at 21-22. That's okay. Notre Dame, I still don't think should be a top 25 school. Maybe receiving votes, but not top 25. Illinois staying in the top 25 after losing 63 to 10. I do not think they should be in the top 25. They should have been popped out of there real quick. TCU and BYU being in there, I think for the most part it's okay. I would say TCU is, yes, definitely better than BYU. But Mississippi State, I think, is better than BYU. I think Auburn's even better than BYU despite losing to Oklahoma last week. I think they're still better than BYU. I don't think BYU's done much to prove themselves that they're all that great of a team. They struggled against East Carolina this past weekend. Yes, a win's a win, but Mississippi State, I think, has a better performances than BYU. I would put them in there instead. USF receiving votes are fine. Utah receiving votes are fine. Arizona State receiving votes, at least they're in the top 5. That's all I care about right there. So that's fine with me. But we'll move on now to underdog picks. Last week, again, not great. Kansas was a +11.5, or excuse me, not Kansas. Ole Miss was a +11.5 over Tulane, and they killed them 45 to 10. That's not a good look for me. Season total still stays at 0. Am I ever gonna get a underdog win or at least a cover? I don't know. This week, still not a lot of confidence. The USF with a +6.5 against Kansas State. That's Saturday at 9 a.m. on FS1. I would say there's a good chance it stays close. Kansas State's not very good. Avery Johnson, I think, was overhyped to start off the year, and it's getting justified now with his performances. USF, I think, is undefeated right now. I think they're 3-0 right now. And if that is the case, they're going to Manhattan, which I think is a tough place to play at. But I think UCF can pull off at least a close game, if not a victory in this one. Now, games to watch this weekend. We'll start off on Friday. TCU, 24 ranked, goes to Arizona State. It's a blackout game for the Sun Devils. I got ASU winning this one. Number 21, USC at number 23, Illinois. Illinois coming off a tough loss. USC is looking better as the weeks go on. Give me USC winning this one on the road. Number 1, Ohio State at Washington. Washington coming off a bye week could help them out, but I still think number 1 team in the nation comes out as number 1 team in the nation. Give me Ohio State. Number 4, LSU at number 13, Ole Miss. I said at the beginning of the year, at least I think I did during our preview episodes, that I'm kind of done with Ole Miss. I don't think they have it anymore. I think Kiffin is just a good head coach when it comes to SEC opponents. He gets the job done. He gets the 8 wins, 9 wins maybe. But at home against LSU, LSU looks good this year. Give me the Tigers. Arizona at number 14, Iowa State. I got the Cyclones here. I don't think Arizona's all that great. They haven't really challenged themselves in their out-of-conference games. But regardless, 2 undefeated teams here. A lot on the line when it comes to early Big 12 conference alignments and standings. So I think Iowa State gets the win, and a close one, though. Number 6, Oregon, and number 3, Penn State. Penn State seems to be a favorite to most people. They haven't challenged themselves at all. They are one of the worst strength of schedule teams in the nation. Give me Oregon in a big game too. I think Oregon wins big in this one. Last one, number 17, Alabama versus number 5, Georgia. Give me the Dogs in this one. I think the Dogs win a close one. These two teams go back and forth all the time, but Alabama just hasn't been the same since Nick Saban's left, and I don't think the pedigree's all that there anymore. Give me Georgia winning at home against the Tide. All right, guys, that would do it for this episode. 179 episodes in the books. Hopefully it didn't sound too bad on your end. I know I sound stuffy and not in the best form as the past couple weeks, but I appreciate you guys so much. This will be the only episode this week. There will be no sports, the Core 4 pro sport news this week, just because I gotta rest more. The voice is already going, and I haven't even talked that much. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. We're back at it next week with at least 2 episodes, if not more. We are also planning a halfway or third of the way through college football episode with George and Keenan. So if you guys enjoyed those ones with George and Keenan, we're going to prep a new episode with those two very soon. So make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, the bell icon so you guys are notified when episodes like that drop. Or if you want to learn more about college football news for next week or pro sports for next week as well. So we'll be back at it for full slate next week. We appreciate you guys so much. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you guys later.